So we're all watching the impeachment trial, and it's been very compelling. The Democrats' prosecution has been amazing, truly. They've meticulously put together this presentation. It's methodical, it's chronological, and it shows where Donald Trump fits in the timeline, shows what he did and what he didn't do. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, after watching the first day of the trial, the actual trial, not the constitutionality thing, but the trial, there's no question that Donald Trump incited these clowns. But even more importantly than that, it started before the actual day of the insurrection. Donald Trump energized this group, got them all fired up, incited them all along the way from essentially after the election all the way to January 6th. He's been pumping these people up all along. So you can say what he said that day on January 6th may or may not be incitement. I say it is, and I think most reasonable people would say it is. But even if it wasn't, the incitement started 2 months prior to that. So there's no question he's guilty. But the unfortunate thing is we have 50 senators, and not all of which have a lot of integrity. I mean, we'll see some that come over, but the likelihood of 17 coming over is probably not that likely. Now, there's some other options they could do. We'll talk about that in a moment. But we're hearing now about what the defense is going to use when they finally get their turn. And one of the biggest things it sounds like they're going to use is, oh, the Democrats are just glorifying violence. Are you kidding me? This happened because of what Donald Trump did, what the Republicans allowed to happen. The Democrats aren't glorifying anything. They're shining light on it. You don't like it because you don't want people to see this. There's no glorification here. It's stuff we should know. There's stuff we watched that I didn't know that you didn't know. And as Americans, when somebody's attacking our Capitol, don't you think we all should know everything? I do. Apparently the Republicans don't. But that's typical for the GOP. They want to hide everything from you, sneak everything out from underneath you, and do what they want to do. But if that's the best they've got in their defense, they're in some deep trouble. They're fortunate that they aren't in an actual courtroom, because if they were, they wouldn't have a chance. I mean, these two guys are clowns anyways. We saw them when they litigated the constitutionality of the trial itself. They lost that, of course, but they look like fools in the process. I mean, they didn't even touch on the subjects that were important to get their point across. And of course, we know Donald Trump was pissed off and screaming. So I'm surprised they still have a job. It's going to be a little bit before they get their chance to throw up a defense. But here's what I'm thinking. They get 16 hours technically. There's no way they're going to take 16 hours. They had a tough enough time filling the 2 hours with the constitutionality issue. It's going to be much shorter. And they probably figure the fix is in. It doesn't matter what they do because they're not going to get enough Republican senators to vote to convict. And they'll win the case and everybody will be happy. Donald Trump will once again not be accountable for the things he's done. Now, there's one way Republicans can convict Donald Trump without people voting to convict Donald Trump. You see, the rule about voting to convict somebody in an impeachment trial is you must have 2/3 of the Senate. Now, it doesn't say 2/3 of the full Senate. It's 2/3 of the Senate there that day. So say if 20 of the Republican senators didn't just show up, then the amount of votes you would need would be far less and far more feasible. That may be a way out, that they allow Trump to get convicted, but they don't get stuck with the label on them. That's almost thinking they're having more integrity than they probably deserve. That's probably not going to happen. But if they wanted a way out, get him convicted and not take the heat, that would be the way that they would probably try to do it. More than likely, they will all vote. Lindsey Graham is already saying, it's done deal. We watched the evidence. It's easy to call it for Donald Trump after that. Lindsey is a kiss ass. And he's an embarrassment to the Senate, to his state, and to himself. You really can't even listen to him. I don't think anybody listens to him any longer. So it's going to be interesting. I will tell you what, when the defense starts, when those two clowns start talking in circles, using their ridiculous defense, it might be kind of entertaining. It's going to get boring if they go too long, but it's going to be entertaining watching them squirm. Because the fact of the matter is, when it comes to addressing the actual facts in the case, they have nothing. So they got to be creative. They got to tell little stories. They got to pick out little things that they don't like, you're glorifying violence. But as I said, if we were in a real court with a real judge and a real jury, this would be a slam dunk. Donald Trump would be convicted. But of course, that's not where we are. We are in the Senate. It's not a court. It's a political deal. So all the things that come into play when you're in court and a trial really don't come into play in the Senate. They call it a trial, but it's not really trial. It's basically a political popularity contest. Whoever's got the most votes, their team wins. It's a tight situation now with 50-50, but of course you need 2/3 to convict. So that would mean if the full Senate is there, the Democrats need 67 votes. They already have 50, but they need another 17. And as we've said, not likely, but you never know. This stuff that we're seeing now is pretty compelling. If the general public starts feeling upset about this stuff and they think that it might affect their electability, you'll see them jump ship on Donald Trump in an instant. But as long as they believe Donald Trump, sticking with him is going to help them get elected, they're going to be his pal. It doesn't matter what he does, even down as far as shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue. So we'll see how this trial goes, and we'll see how the vote ultimately goes. But it's going to tell a lot about these people. And those that vote against Donald Trump being convicted need to be recognized and remembered. They aren't going to be able to walk away from this. The stink of Donald Trump will stick with them forever, and the stink of letting him go unencumbered from this trial is going to stick with them too. Join us again on Rational Boomer.